How's it going, everyone? I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome back to my channel, Web Dev Junkie. In this video, I'm going to show you the top 10 VS Code shortcuts that I use basically every day. So you need to learn these to increase your productivity. So before I get started, I just want to let you all know, if you are using a shortcut that I haven't covered in this video, be sure to leave a comment below so that I can learn that shortcut and other people watching this video can learn it as well and become better developers. And like always, be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe if you're new to this channel, because I'm going to have a lot of videos like this published for you all in the future. All right, so the first shortcut I'm going to show you all is the Command D shortcut. So this key binding basically will select a word multiple times as you keep pressing Command D. This one I use all the time at work, so make sure you really understand this one. Let me give you an example of how this works. So let's say that you're in a function that has a parameter erect, and you want to replace all the occurrences of that parameter inside of that function. What I like to do is you basically highlight the keyword, and you can press Command D, and keep pressing Command D will keep on selecting one additional word that matches the one that you had selected, and then you can go ahead and just rename it to whatever you want. So whatever I want. And notice as I typed in, it replaced that occurrence and then also this occurrence. Another great use case of this is, let's say we wanted to, for example, append something at the end of all of these functions. So we could find a unique substring that's in every line that we're interested in. For example, we could highlight the this dot and then press Command D a couple of times. That'll select all three functions that are in this file. And then I like to do a command right arrow that'll take me to the end of the line, and I can type in some type of comment. So I can say a function used for blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? So the Command D is really powerful for not only replacing particular words or substrings in a function or a file, but it's also really good for just selecting all the lines that you want to do some type of action on. So shortcut number 2 is the multi-cursor select. So I use this one a lot as well, but it's more used when I'm trying to edit a file that has a lot of occurring patterns or substrings that I need to just kind of select all and replace. So let's look at this Puppet file for an example. Let's say I needed to append a particular property at the end of all of these references. Okay, so one thing you can do is if you hold down Option, if you're on Mac, and select the different areas, notice that your cursor is being selected multiple times. Okay, so this is really useful if you decide that I need to attach another property to this module in Puppet, and I could simply just do a space. I could say like version is 1.0.0. This isn't real syntax. I think there's probably a bug. Notice how easy it was to edit all of those things. So the Option click for the multi-select is definitely a useful thing to learn. And you can also do it inside of strings. And if you were to accidentally click on the wrong thing, so for example, notice over here I have a cursor highlighting that I might not want. So I can just do another Option click to get rid of it, and it'll go away. And then I can kind of just go through and just select things I wanted. So if, for example, if I wanted to append something to all these, instead of get, I wanted to attach like, I don't know, dash. It's super useful to do. So number 3 is really important to know, so be sure you listen up. So if you have a project that has thousands of files, it makes it really hard to use the tree explorer to kind of dive into all the folders and the nested subfolders to find exactly what you're looking for. So if you happen to know a part of the file, or maybe the suffix of the file, or a substring in the file name, what you can do is do a Command P to load up your fuzzy search panel, and then you can type in something that you're looking for. So as an example, let's say we're looking for a SQL file. So I can do .sql, and that'll show me all the SQL files that are in my project. Additionally, I can type in more characters if I want to kind of hone it down to a particular search. I could type space gem, and that'll give me all the SQL files that match gem. And now I have 3 options. I can easily open one up if I wanted to. And again, this is something I use literally every day, every hour, maybe even every couple of minutes at work when I'm diving and navigating through code. So just to give you another example, let's say we want to open up a file that I have. So I do Command P, type in the file name and open it up. And we are looking through this file and we see something in JavaScript that we maybe want to dive in further to kind of investigate. So sometimes you can do an F12 to kind of dive into the definition, but that doesn't always work all the time. So what I like to do instead is I just like to select or copy the file name to my clipboard, do a Command P, and then it'll open up the new file for me. So you see how quick that was? I could literally just go here and open up the new file. I believe there is a shortcut for just going to the definition with a Command F12, but again, that doesn't always work in every particular case. It really depends on how well your project is set up, and if you're using like dependency injection, that stuff will just fail. All right, so hotkey number 4, this is the find in project hotkey. So if you were to type in Command Shift F, you can basically search through your entire project and all the files in your project for a particular substring. So as an example, let's say we want to find something in particular, such as like prec of params, gem ID. We can type that in the search bar and press enter, and that'll give us every single file where this is being used. And you can kind of dive through the different files to understand like where this variable or where this function or where this class is being used. And then you can further do more actions, like if you wanted to refactor the name of it, you could change it here. And this is a great tool to use as well. You can use like regex for finding stuff, case sensitivity, case insensitivity, and stuff like that. So be sure you learn that hotkey, which is Command Shift F, and that'll load up that search panel over here. So let's say you already have a file opened up and there's a particular piece of text you're looking for. Well, you can do the search hotkey, which is Command F if you're on Mac. So that'll load up your search prompt and you can type in a keyword that you're looking for. So again, in this example, let's say we're looking for something called create default callback. And we can just kind of search through and find all the instances of where we've defined that and used it. And additionally, you can take that a step further and kind of replace it to whatever you want using this drop down here, or you can do a option Command F to load up that replace panel. And I can basically just replace all those instances here and notice that we replaced them all. Or if I were to go back, let me just show you, I can click on the replace all button and that'll replace everything that's in that file that matches that. So hopefully you already know how to do a Command F, because it's the same keyword that you use for like your Chrome browser, or if you're searching a document or a PDF. Usually there's everything usually has a search command, but right, this is really useful, especially if you know what you're looking for. So let's say I want to find out where I'm exporting a module here. I can say module.exports. It takes me right to the bottom of the file, right? I have to keep on searching through because this happens to be a smaller file. But if you can imagine your file has maybe 500 lines of code and you just want to go directly to where you know something is, it's really good to just learn how to quickly do a Command F. And don't forget that it's there, because it can really increase your productivity when you know what you're looking for. All right, so hotkey number 6, this is the Goto Line. So I use this often when I'm coding with other people, or I'm in a mob session or pair programming, and someone else is kind of watching me code and maybe telling me, okay, load up the file called gems controller, and then Goto Line 110. So this hotkey you can do with Control G, and that will load up your Goto Line prompt, which is really just your visual code command prompt with a colon appended to it already. And you can type in the line that you want. So if we wanted, for example, line 164, we can type in 164, press enter, and voila, we're there. We're at the line that we're looking for. This is also super good to know when you're dealing with bugs. Often you run your code, you might have an exception, and it might tell you, okay, you need to go to line 127 of this file. Often you can just click on the error inside your terminal if it throws an exception, but sometimes you might actually need to go to that line number. So I can just do, again, just to show you, I can do a Command G, type in the line number I want to go to, and it'll take you straight there. So this one's really useful to know and learn. All right, so hotkey number 7, this is the close current file. So when you're dealing with large projects, you might dive around between files and files and files. And at some point you might have like tons of files open. Let me just kind of drive this point home by opening up a ton of files for you all. So for an example, let's say we started with one file and we're kind of diving through the code, trying to figure out how something works or how the code goes down the path to get to a database or something like that. And we opened up all of these files. Well, what you can do is once you reach a certain point where you're done figuring out how the path works, you can basically just do a close current file. That is Command W. So learn the hotkey Command W. If I were to click it, it's going to close the current tab I have open and go back to my previous one, right? So this is really useful if you're diving into code and diving into more code. So for an example, if I were to kind of go to the definition of this one and then go to the definition of that one, what I could do is also just do a Command W. That'll take me back to the start of the stack, I guess you could say, or the start of your history. So the next hotkey, number 8, is the close other tabs hotkey. This one's also really important if you're doing that example where I'm just diving into different definitions. Let me just load up a couple so I can kind of drive this point home. All right, so let's say you have 3 files loaded up, and what you want to do is you want to close all the other tabs that you have open that you're not interested in. So let's say we're looking at this colors.js file, and we want to close colors controller and messages.js. Well, the hotkey you can use is Command Option T, and that'll close all the other tabs you have open. Again, this is just a really small shortcut to really help increase your productivity, because in my opinion, when you have tons and tons and tons of tabs open, it makes it really hard to find exactly what you're looking for. So be sure to close tabs when you know you don't need them anymore. And again, you can always load them up later, right? You could always just load up with your fuzzy search, go back to messages. If you remember the file name, you just fuzzy search and load it right back up. All right, so hotkey number 9. This is the split terminal hotkey. So often when you're dealing with professionally written software, you often have unit tests, okay? And what helps me a lot is if you have your unit test file to the right and then your implementation to the left, you can just split them. So if you do a command \, that'll open up 2 panels in VS Code, and you can kind of open up whatever files, you can drag them to other panels like this, and just kind of set it up so you can easily see your implementation, cross-reference to a test file or some other file that you're really interested in learning. So again, you can kind of split as many times as you want, but I don't know how useful that is when you have 4 tabs open. You might have to zoom out really far, which someone like me who eyes aren't the best, I like to just maybe have 2 tabs open at max and just have a nice zoom level so I can actually see what I'm doing. So hotkey number 10, this is the final one, but it's really important because I'm actually going to combine 3 into 1 because I found some extras I was really eager to share with you all. So the first one is, how do you open up this Explorer panel without clicking on this button? Well, if you just do a command B, that'll toggle your Explorer. So you might have seen me in this tutorial already where I'm kind of like loading up files, and then I'll close files and stuff like that. I'll open them up. Especially when you're doing split panels, I need as much real estate as I can on my laptop because my laptop monitor isn't that big. So whenever I have the files that I'm interested in loaded up, I'll just do a command B and close that away. Now, like I said, there's 2 others I'm combining with this last and final shortcut, and that is, how do you toggle the terminal? So again, to toggle the terminal, what I like to do is I do a control and then a backtick. So that'll load up the terminal down here, and then you can actually start doing things in your terminal. Like if you wanted to do npm install and then minimize your terminal, come back 8 hours later when it's done installing 80,000 node modules, you can check it to see if it's done. If it's not, you'll close it back. So it's really good to like get familiar with just opening these different panels to get them out of the way as you need them. Let me close this before it eats up all of my bandwidth. And then the last tip that you might have just seen me run. Sometimes when you run a command, it's going to fill up your terminal history with tons of stuff you might not care about. So when it's actually done, or even before it even finishes, you can do a command K to basically clear the terminal. So command K will clear the terminal, even if you don't have access to type in that clear command that everyone knows. Sometimes you just want to clear the terminal. Now this is really useful if you just want to run a particular test file and you just want to see the output of it, or if you need to run like a script and just see the output of that script and you don't care about the history just kind of gets in the way, it's extra noise. I like to just clear my terminal after I'm done doing whatever I'm doing. This can be a pro and a con. The pro for me is it helps me stay focused. The con is sometimes you really want that history in, but oops, you just cleared the terminal, so you can't get that history back. So use it with caution. If you have something in your terminal that you think you may need in the future, don't clear the terminal. Just keep your scroll back history. Otherwise, if you think it helps your productivity, be sure to clear that terminal when you're done with all of the output. All right, so that wraps up my top 10 VS Code shortcuts that you can use to increase your productivity at work. And again, I use these every day. These are like my favorite shortcuts. I'm sure there's a ton of others that you can use, but the ones I shared with you are the ones that I use all the time. So I would also recommend that you use them as well, just to kind of increase your productivity and become a better developer. Like always, if you have a shortcut that you like using, be sure to leave it in the comments below. I might respond and maybe other people can learn from your comments that you enjoy using. And then secondly, be sure to like this video because it helps my channel grow. And like always, if you are new to this channel, be sure to smash that subscribe button because I'm going to be publishing videos like this in the future that should hopefully upgrade your knowledge in web development. All right, thank you so much again and happy coding.